The wind howled through the frozen forest, a sound that carried both warning and memory. Inside a fragile shelter of branches and canvas, Diana sat near the dying embers of the fire. Her leg, wrapped in torn cloth, trembled with every breath. The pain had dulled to a deep, aching pulse, not sharp enough to scream, but constant enough to remind her she was still alive. Outside, snow fell in relentless waves, swallowing every trace of the path they had once taken. Inside, the silence was heavy, a suffocating weight. Caleb worked quietly in the corner, his movements slow and deliberate, feeding damp wood into the fire, trying to chase away the cold that had settled deep into their bones. Diana, once a biologist, now just another body trying to survive, stared at her hands. "I've become useless," she whispered, her voice barely audible beneath the wind. The word useless hung in the air, colder than any draft. Out here, in the unforgiving heart of the Taiga, worth was not measured in words or past achievements, but in immediate contribution. And she felt she had none left to give. The others had grown quieter these days. Alex, Brenda, Caleb. Hunger had carved them into shadows of their former selves. Their conversations had dwindled to necessities, their camaraderie eroded by the constant gnawing emptiness in their stomachs. The fire no longer brought comfort, only a flickering stage for their shared anxieties. Diana could feel it, not just the frost creeping through the makeshift walls, but the emotional distance growing between them all. In survival, isolation wasn't just physical. It was the quiet, creeping fear that your presence no longer mattered. As dawn pushed a pale, lifeless light through the clouds, Diana made a decision. She stood slowly, her knuckles white as she clutched a wooden stick for a crutch. Caleb looked up, his expression a mixture of concern and exhaustion. "Your leg, you shouldn't go far." "If I don't," she replied, her voice firm despite the tremor in her body, "I'll disappear in here." And so she walked, one slow, limping step at a time. Each footfall sank deep into the pristine snow, each breath turning to a frozen mist that hung in the air. The pain in her leg was a fiery counterpoint to the biting cold, but she pushed it aside. She was driven by something more powerful than pain, a refusal to surrender to despair. After what felt like an eternity, the dense forest opened into a silent, frozen marsh. The cattails, tall, brown and brittle, swayed like ghosts in the wind. To most, it was just another dead, desolate landscape. But to Diana, it was a library of possibility. She knelt down, brushing away the snow with her bare, trembling hands. She began digging at the base of the frozen stalks, her fingers numb but determined. She dug through ice and mud until they found what she sought, thick white roots buried deep in the earth's frozen heart. "Cattail," she murmured to herself, a sense of reverence in her voice. "You never let the cold win." She snapped off a piece of the root and bit into it. The taste was bitter, almost metallic, but beneath that initial shock was the unmistakable texture of starch. It was life, raw and real. In that moment, something shifted inside her. A flicker of the woman she used to be, the scientist, the observer, the problem solver, ignited within the shell of the survivor. She wasn't helpless, she wasn't broken. She was simply learning again, not from textbooks, but from the harsh, honest teachings of the wild. Cattail wasn't just food, it was warmth, insulation, a complete survival kit in disguise. Her hands, stained with mud and earth, worked with a newfound purpose, each motion a small rebellion against the encroaching darkness. By midday, she made her slow, triumphant return to camp. Her clothes were soaked, her breath came in ragged gasps, but there was a faint spark of life in her eyes that had been missing for weeks. Caleb looked up from the fire, startled. "You went all the way to the marsh, in that condition?" "I brought something back," she said, a faint smile touching her lips. From the bundle in her arms, she laid down a collection of muddy cattail roots and handfuls of soft, fluffy seeds. The seeds caught the firelight, floating in the air like dust made of light. "Food and warmth," she explained. "Two things we can never have enough of." Caleb frowned, skeptical. "Warmth? From that?" She nodded, sitting beside the fire. "Cattail fluff is made of hollow fibers, like fur or down. It traps air, and air is a terrible conductor of heat. If we line the floor and walls with it, we can almost double our insulation. He watched, fascinated, as she began to work. Despite her injury, she moved with precision, stuffing the soft cattail fluff into the gaps between the logs of their shelter, layering it beneath their bedding. The fire's glow began to reflect off the floating fibers, turning the cold, grim interior into a soft golden haze. The transformation was subtle but profound. For the first time in weeks, the air inside felt still, not frozen, but resting. The oppressive cold began to recede. Caleb looked around, then back at her, a look of dawning respect on his face. "You're turning biology into survival." Diana looked at the flickering flames, a quiet strength in her gaze. "It's all the same thing, really. Nature teaches the ones who are willing to listen." Outside, the storm thickened, the wind screaming through the trees. But inside, its roar had dulled, muffled by their new walls of cattail insulation. The world no longer screamed at them. It whispered. Night fell gently this time. The fire burned steady and bright. The cold, though still biting at the edges of their world, no longer seemed cruel, only honest. Diana sat across from Caleb. Between them, a small pot of cattail roots simmered in water, releasing an earthy, strange but comforting steam. Caleb took a tentative sip from his cup and grimaced slightly. "Tastes like a burnt potato." "It's better than starving," she said, and a soft laugh escaped her lips. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, genuine laughter echoed in the shelter. It wasn't loud, but it was real, and it was more warming than any fire. In the struggle for survival, the body demands heat, food, and shelter, but the spirit, it demands purpose. When hunger breaks the body, it is knowledge that keeps the soul's fire alive. Diana didn't conquer the taiga. She learned to coexist with it, to listen to its secrets. Out here in the vast, silent wilderness, warmth doesn't always come from the fire. Sometimes it comes from the simple, defiant will to stay human. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking the video and subscribing to our channel for more content that explores the resilience of the human spirit. Stay safe and stay curious.